Welcome back to the Triple Play Fantasy YouTube channel. I'm Brad, and I'm here again with my guy Jacob Dunn, and we're getting ready to talk some fantasy basketball. How you feeling, Jacob?
Oh man, I'm super pumped. All right, we got a month and 3 weeks until the start of the regular season. All right, but who's counting, right?
I'm with you, man. I'm counting every single day. I can't wait for it to come back.
Let's go.
But every week, we're going to drop a new video to get you prepped for the season, whether it's a player breakdown, an entire topic. We're just talking about NBA news and how it affects fantasy. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. So last week's episode, we talked about some early sleepers and busts for the upcoming season. And this week, we want to get you a jump start with your research with 6 potential candidates for a bounce back season. So these are players who were duds last year for various reasons, but we project big things for them this year. So without further ado, let's dive in.
All right, first up, we got Zion Williamson. All right, back on July 6th, the Pelicans and Zion agreed on a rookie max extension worth at least $193 million on his birthday. All right, Zion afterwards said, quote, "For the Pelicans to give me this birthday gift, I'm not going to let them down. I'm not going to let them down. Let's go." All right. New Orleans even baked in a weight clause, which means he will have a periodic weigh-in where 1, the sum of his weight, and 2, the body fat can't exceed 295. Zion seems on board with this weight clause, and he has a chance to make a lot more money through incentives, like making the All-NBA team or winning a major award. So I trust Zion will do everything he can to stay in shape throughout the season. And don't forget, during his age 20 season, Zion averaged 27 points, 7.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 1.5 stocks, while shooting over 61% from the field. All right, seemingly healthy, and with every incentive to keep his weight down. I think we see a slimmed down Zion sneak into the fantasy top 10 by season's end, which will make him an absolute steal if he slips past the second round.
Yeah, Jacob, I think that's an interesting take. So I definitely agree with you that he's a candidate to bounce back, but I think I'll personally be fading him. So when he plays, there's an automatic 20 and 10 that you can pencil in. He's a special talent, but there's just an Anthony Davis quality to him when you just worry that he's not going to be around when you need him most. So you mentioned that contract, but it states that Zion must keep the sum of his weight and body fat percentage below 295. If not, the guaranteed money in his contract decreases. However, that doesn't mean his checks get smaller. So long as the checks are coming, he receives the full max amount. The clause means that if the Pelicans ever waive him, Zion's guaranteed money he is still owed would be smaller. So he's not even really incentivized to keep weight off on a year-by-year basis. Kind of like Shaq, it didn't matter how much he weighed, he could still dominate. I think Zion's that same way. But Shaq stayed on the court and Zion hasn't been able to. If I could draft him with a mid-round pick, I'd be all in. But he's probably going to go within the first 3 or 4 rounds, so it's a bit too much risk for me. All right, so for my first bounce back candidate, I'm going to go with Ben Simmons. So typically I'd be wary of the guys with back issues. There's no such thing as one back surgery, and he just had one this past offseason. There's all sorts of stories about his mental state out, and we just won't ever know the truth unless he feels the need to set that record straight, and he doesn't know that to any of us. But what I do know is that his career is kind of hanging in the balance here. So when he next steps on the court, he's going to be full strength. Ben Simmons is such a talented player defensively that he doesn't have to score a bucket to affect the game in real life or in fantasy. We're talking about a guy that averages 8 boards per game for his career. He's also a floor general, and I'm hearing that he's going to be playing some point center for the Nets this season because he can guard all 5 positions and averages 8 assists per game for his career. That will also fit with KD and Kyrie because they both demonstrated they can play off ball. He's going to be an excellent source of stocks with just under 2 steals per game and just under 1 block. Playing on a team with KD and Kyrie, he doesn't have to feel pressure to score. I'm expecting some Draymond Green type stat lines from Simmons this year. Double-doubles will be easy for him, and if he gets a bunch of easy transition baskets, triple-doubles are definitely possible. Most importantly, he has enough negative press with people that you're going to be able to draft him in the mid to late rounds. So he should have no trouble exceeding his cost. I'm happy to draft Ben Simmons.
To be honest, man, I have Simmons fatigue. All right, I held on to him in my IR spot most of the year last season, expecting him to come back, especially when he was traded to Brooklyn. Just a weird situation that I don't personally trust moving forward. and I have a feeling he won't come at a discount this year, which makes me fine if another team takes him at cost. But I am fully aware of his upside if he actually plays. But I'd personally look to sell him quick if he plays and starts off hot. All right, next up, I got Kyrie Irving. In the 29 games he played last season, Kyrie was a top 12 fantasy contributor, averaging 27.4 points, 5.8 dimes, 4.4 boards, 1.4 blocks, and even chipped in with 0.6 blocks on 47% field goal shooting. Now that there's no restrictions concerning the COVID-19 vaccine in Brooklyn, there's no reason why Irving shouldn't flirt with top 15 fantasy numbers this season. All right, Uncle Drew is going to be a huge value if he slips past the second round.
Jacob, I couldn't agree more. I love Kyrie. I think he gets a bad rap, and I think the media loves to talk about him negatively because he's a hot topic, which makes him defensive and feeds into more negative coverage. So he's kind of stuck in this negative feedback cycle. But the bottom line is he's one of the best point guards to ever play the game, and he's showing no signs of slowing down. Like you said, the COVID mandate's been listed, so there's no reason he wouldn't play a normal season's workload of games. Will there be some rest days? Yeah, probably. Will there be some personal days? Yeah, probably.
Sure.
But who amongst us doesn't need a break from work every now and then? If Kyrie gets you 60 games, his fantasy production is going to meet his costs, and that's the bottom line. So next I'm going with Gordon Hayward. So the Hornets are looking like they're going to be in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes this year. All signs point to Miles Bridges being out of the picture for the Hornets since he got into his legal trouble. So LaMelo Ball is the unquestioned leader and best player on the team. And then number 2 is going to be a toss-up between Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward. This team was 5th in the league in pace last year, and a high amount of possessions is great for fantasy because that means you don't have to consider the high usage players as much. You can look for second and third options for production because they're going to be in high scoring games with little defense. Gordon Hayward averaged 16, 5, and 4 on 13 shots last season. And with Bridges out of the picture, I see no reason why he wouldn't be able to return to that 2017 form when he got 16 shots per game and averaged 22, 5, and 4. He's going to get the minutes, and the Hornets will depend on him for scoring. He's under contract with Charlotte through 2024, so this season he may be auditioning to be the missing piece on a playoff team since he's locked in for $30 million this season and $31.5 million next season. He's going to be motivated, and he'll have all the opportunity to perform.
I always loved Hayward's real-life game more than fantasy, but there's no denying the points, rebounds, and assists he's racked up over the years. His steals have been all over the map, and at age 32, I don't see him getting over a steal a game. But Charlotte needs a leader, like you said, so I expect Gordon to play huge minutes this season. I like the pick as long as I can get him at a value in drafts this season. And last up on my list, I got Jusuf Nurkic. Nurkic missed a huge chunk of last season due to plantar fasciitis. But before he was shut down, the 28-year-old was averaging 15 and 11 with 1.7 stocks in 56 games. The Blazers just handed the big man out of Bosnia a 4-year, $70 million contract this summer, despite being shut down for the second half of the 21-22 season, which I see as an excellent sign that he is ready to go and play a huge role for the Blazers this season. I truly believe Jusuf would have come back a lot sooner last season, but Portland was already down Damian Lillard and Anthony Simmons, so the tank was on. Nurkic should be 100% healthy heading into the season and ready to contribute top 35 numbers. He's going to be a great source of points, rebounds, field goal percentage, assists, blocks, and steals while hovering around 70% at the charity stripe.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with Nurkic. He's a walking double-double, and he's got those upside games every now and then where he goes for 30 points or grabs 20 boards or 4 blocks. He's that kind of talent. But I'm interested to see if Dame makes him better or worse for fantasy. He's going to have to deal with Jeremy Grant taking some of his usage away. Anthony Simmons has come into his own and can be a second option to Dame if they need guard production. So I can see a world where he's now the 4th option to score, and they didn't really add any facilitators to the mix to spoon feed him buckets like other big men have. I'm not sure the upside is there like it has been in the past, but you can also draft him in the mid to later rounds, so the risk isn't really there. I don't think you'll be disappointed by Nurkic this season, but I don't know that you'll be happy to have him. Alright, last but not least, I'm going with John Wall. So he's been completely forgotten about in the fantasy world, and he's been an afterthought in the NBA. He's been parked on the bench for the Houston Rockets the last few years. But the reason he was stuck on the bench is the same reason I expect him to be a super value in fantasy b-ball this season. The Houston Rockets are a young team that needs to develop their talent, so they couldn't have an experienced vet that has historically been a high usage player taking valuable shots and reps away from their young talent. They rather pay John Wall to sit than pay him and win. Now he's on the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George. Kawhi is returning from injury, so he'll likely be load managed and doesn't really turn on the gas until the playoffs anyway. So that leaves Paul George and John Wall to shoulder the load offensively during the regular season. I know he's been in the league forever, but he's only 32. He's not washed up by any means, he's just been in purgatory. He's going to be hungry to remind everyone why he's a 5-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA selection, and 1-time All-Defensive Team selection. He's a 28% usage rate player for his entire career. That puts him among the league leaders. In what world are you going to be able to draft a ball-dominant scoring guard who can get you steals in the late rounds of the draft? It's an incredible opportunity, and you've got to make sure you have him on your roster.
Yeah, I believe John Wall does take the starting job away from Reggie Jackson, and he should have fresh legs coming into his age 32 season. All right, I would prefer him late because I think he can be a sneaky top 100 guy, and I project him to have around 14 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 stocks, which would definitely put him well inside the top 100. So I'm definitely taking a shot on him mid to late.
That's going to do it for this week. Remember, you can always reach out to us for fantasy advice. Make sure you follow us or the show account on Twitter, and you can find our Discord link in the description in this video. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.
Cheers.